Every single one of us are going to face storms, right? Because that's the way dunya is. It's storms hit us. We face things in life. There's no way we can't control the weather, right? We can't control the fact that it rained. None of us could control the fact that it rained, right? But there's one thing that we can do, and that is that we can be inside shelter. Every single one of us, we weren't, if we were inside and it rained right now outside, it started to rain again, no one in this room would get wet, right? No one in this room would be affected by the rain. And that's because even though we can't control what happens in the weather, we can't control what happens outside, but we can be inside of the shelter when it comes. And that's exactly what we need to do as believers. That's what we need to do in our lives, is we need to make sure that we're in shelter, because no matter what hits us in our lives, we are in that shelter and we can keep going. And what is that shelter? That is hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and never letting go of that. Being in the shelter is being close to Allah. So you and I, we don't need to be worried about what hits us in life. Because you see, a person who sits and just worries about what's going to hit them and what's going to happen and what's not going to happen and what they're going to gain and what they're going to lose is like a person who sits and obsesses over the weather. Is it going to rain today? Is it going to be sunny? Or is it's not useful for us to sit and worry about the weather, right? Why is it not useful? Well, for two reasons. Number one, we can't control the weather, can we? And number two is the fact that our focus should not be on trying to control the weather or even worrying about the weather. Our focus should be that when the weather hits, we are in proper shelter. That when the weather hits, we have proper covering, right? If it's cold outside, you're okay as long as you're wearing a coat. If it's hot, you're okay as long as you're protecting yourself from the sun, right? So the point is that no matter what we go through in life, if we are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we can handle it. And we'll be able to get through it. And there's a formula that's actually, it's amazing, because there's a formula that we're given by Allah and His Messenger that allows us not only to survive bad weather, not only to survive our life, not only to survive the waves and the storms and the whatever it is that hits us, but actually be able to thrive in bad weather. That is a power that only a believer is given. That is an ability, that is a gift that we, only the believers have. That no matter what we go through in life, we can actually not only survive, but thrive. And I'm going to give you an example of that. Such a powerful story. And it's the story of Asiya radiallahu anha. As you know, Asiya was the wife of the worst tyrant to walk the earth, right? Pharaoh. And she was, this was a man, just to give you some context, this was a man who used to kill babies as a policy. That's who he was. He was a man who threatened to crucify those who expressed belief, to cut off their limbs on opposite sides. That's who this man was. And that's who she was married to. So you can imagine that when she expressed belief, when she believed in the message of Musa alayhi salam, what she had to go through. But the powerful story here, the powerful lesson here is that even while she was in that situation, right? So Fir'aun, when he found out that she had believed in other than him, this was a man who stood up and said, "Ana rabbukumul a'la," I am your Lord Most High. And she believed in the Lord of Musa alayhi salam. So he put her through torture. He put her through physical torture. He was trying to torture her. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took care of her. But there's something very powerful in her story, and that is that she asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show her home in Jannah. And the ayah that describes this story, when she asks Allah, رَبِّ ابْنِنِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. Now this ayah is really interesting because it's structured in an unusual way. She's asking Allah, "Oh my Lord, build for me, ibn li indaka." Now she says here, build for me with you a home in Jannah. With you a home in Jannah. Why is this unusual? Because typically you wouldn't necessarily say it that way. You would say, build for me a home in Jannah with you. But her emphasis is on with you. Her emphasis is near you. So she's asking Allah, build for me a home near you in Jannah. What is the deeper understanding here? What can we get from this? And that is her focus even before Jannah is what? near you. It's near you, near Allah. So her focus, and this doesn't surprise any of us, because in this life, she was a queen, right? If she wanted palaces, she had that. And if her focus was these things, she already had that. But yet she chose Allah over the palaces of this world. So why wouldn't she choose Allah over the palaces of the next world, right? So she's asking Allah, build for me near you, that's my focus, a home in Jannah. Now, the commentators say that when she's being tortured, Allah actually shows her her home in Jannah while she's being tortured, and she smiles. Now think about that. Imagine a person being within the hardship. We're not talking about it's over, it was 20 years ago. She's in it. She's in it. She's currently in it, and she's smiling. She's able to smile. How is that she's able to do that? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her the help. If Allah gives you help, even if you're in the hardship, even if you're in the middle, the eye of the storm, you not only will be able to survive, not only be able to just barely keep your head above water, you can actually thrive. And she's able to smile while she's in a situation many of us couldn't wrap our minds around. She's able to smile. Allah gave her the ability to see her home in Jannah. And because of that help, she was able to not only withstand her hardship, but be able to smile in the middle of her hardship. There's this is a story of a woman who lived a long time ago, right? And she's an example for all time. But I'm going to tell you that this is real even today. This is real even today.